My topic today with all of you is, as it's stated out here, which is idea validation and funding, and it's all part of the innovation entrepreneurship workshop at the college. Just while we go into details, I'll just kind of take up a few more seconds to just close the introduction of the company. So at Reen Labs, we kind of summarized earlier, partnering individuals, organizations in fundamental research, innovation, and incubation. A number of training hours, a number of ideas, number of MVPs. We're primarily consulting Government of India, Ministry of Education, AICTE in helping them be the panel for all the competitions they are holding, especially Smart India Hackathon and Yukti 2.0. And we've just kind of partnered MSINS, Maharashtra State Innovation Society, in doing their event, which has happened closed out just yesterday, which is Maharashtra Startup Week 2021. As a part of it, we kind of get the chance to be jury for all the projects and all the project work that happens in the country by way of competitions. And that gives a great idea around what is the level at which our students are thinking today and where we stand. It just gives some insight around what may be challenges, because as industry, we get to see where students stand. As was told in the introduction, I have had the honor of being certified as an electrical engineer. And the certification of electrical engineering came in typical Mumbai University methodology. बहुत रगड़ के अच्छे से सब्जेक्ट समझ के we crossed the final line, and the quality of engineer that got produced out of us 20 years back was okay, wasn't the greatest. It took a lot of experience after that to really understand what we missed out, and today I do feel that had thoda sa aur dhyan diya hota, it would have been very different. But thankfully the alumni was strong enough, and the college was awesome. Kuch to dimag mein kya baithe. So today's session is going to be around kindling three things in your minds, and I'll start off with the very first one. First is a trivia, just to get some things up and going. This is an equation. Since all of you have been living, breathing equations or have left it long behind, anybody who can probably answer, what is this equation about? Love to get a show of hands. Z is equal to C plus I plus G plus X minus Y. Google karna allowed hai, no problems. It's an open book test. Anybody wants to go ahead and put it in chat, or anyone wants to go ahead and volunteer? Okay, so assuming it's pretty much like the regular class, well, this is the equation of what we kind of get a little enamored with every year, once in a year, and we kind of call this the equation of GDP, gross domestic product. Now you must be wondering what's wrong over here and why is he talking about gross domestic product. Just a moment. The gross domestic product basically is an equation which says consumption, investment, addition of government spending, exports, and a subtraction of imports. So I've got a typo there, the I versus the M, but this is just for you to know that M stands for the imports in this case. Now, the point that I'm trying to drive in here is that this is an equation with which in the current or the last 150 years, the world's economy is going to go ahead and get measured, and how well we all are doing is going to get measured. And the growth in this GDP number is what decides how things are happening. Now, one of the things you will notice around this GDP equation is an interesting fact, which will give you some sense around what's really happening in the world. If you notice, all of us are being told that your GDP of a nation increasing means the nation is doing well economically. And the GDP increasing means your exports have to increase and your imports have to reduce. Okay? Now, think about it. When will your exports increase? Your exports increase when you are going ahead and producing something which is faster, cheaper, better for the other nation who's going to consume it. Likewise, if you are going to be importing something, you're definitely going to import something which is faster, cheaper, better in another nation which is producing. If you look at investments, you're saving some stuff just so that you have got enough of monies to be able to go ahead and buy something faster, cheaper, better. consumption also happens on those things which are faster, cheaper, better. It's rare that we will go ahead and buy something very expensive, which is not better and which is not faster. One of the 2-3 factors will always be at play. This points to something very critical, which we all need to keep in mind, is that the moment the world decided that GDP has to be the way in which the world's economy and economic growth will be measured, we landed ourselves into a concept which is that it's always and every time going to be about productivity, which means anything that will be faster, cheaper, better is the thing that the pursuit will be for. Only faster, cheaper, better things are going to go ahead and get pursued and are going to get consumed. Anybody who's not able to be fast, who's not able to be cheap, who's not able to be better is someone who's going to lose the race. And right from the times of the British Raj till the times today, you will notice that every single sector in which we are not fast, cheap, and better, there is either a Chinese alternative, or there is another American alternative, or a German alternative, or another country's alternative. And those countries take from us those things in which we are faster, cheaper, better. The moot point being that it's all about productivity. And if you are not getting productive on a particular task with every passing day, you are getting into a situation where your jobs, your tasks, your businesses are going to get eroded. This is a brute lesson which we guys have not understood over these years, and that's why you will find many traditional industries getting eroded. Despite the fact that they may be good at certain things, they weren't fast enough, they weren't cheap enough, they weren't better enough. If you recall the days of the British Raj, we had cloth that we were producing. It was better, but it wasn't faster, it wasn't cheaper. And then they just said, hey, 2 factors not working for us. Why don't we just go ahead and make it so cheap that then just the better part of it loses the challenge? And you found that all of these things started falling. Labor export, if you look at the state of Kerala or look at the state of Uttar Pradesh and Bihar, they are exporting labor to other cities and countries. Why? Because that labor may not be faster, but it's definitely cheaper and better. If you look at the entire Middle East, we export labor to Middle East because we are faster, cheaper, better. If you look at teaching, we go ahead and export teachers because we are faster, cheaper, better there. We get IT services business because we are faster, cheaper, better. Now, the moot point that we need to understand here is that in any industry that you are working in, where you are not going to be either of these 3, you're probably going to get to a situation where you will get defeated. Take the case of the call center industry. The call center industry came in and completely got wiped off from this country in a matter of 10 years. Because there was a country like Philippines, which was not only faster, it was also cheaper, and it was also equivalent. So when you are planning your careers or you're planning what's going to come ahead, keep this point. Let's see one more number, which all of you may have come across so far. It's that number of publications, number of people have been saying this, that campus interviews are reducing, jobs are reducing, only some percentage of students are really employable, engineers are facing the brunt, management college are facing a further brunt. I mean, some of you guys have actually done your engineering. We all know how much we all understood. Then you landed up doing your post-graduation. When you didn't know the basics, what did you do in your postgrad? And some of us went into certain other courses only because education and postgrad education in our country has almost become like a qualifier for a line. It's like an identity card. I am a postgraduate. Please consider me first in a job. It's not about the quality of the postgrad that we're producing. It's not about the quality of the graduate deliveries. This is complemented by many other data points. FICCI, for instance, says 9 of 10 MBA graduates, engineers in India are just unemployable. They're not useful for the market. You get to see numbers like these. If you look at a total number of top earning companies, the best companies that you can count on your fingertips, and you look at the total number of jobs that they have got, count about 10-20% up and down, depending on the growth stage, the net number of jobs that these big corporations create are not in any way enough to make sure that we all get an assignment or a job. What does that mean? That there is going to be a pyramidical race towards productivity improvement. Any employee who's going to be fast, who's going to be cheap, and who's going to be better is the guy who gets the premium and gets it. And unfortunately, our education system, as all of you have faced the brunt, ain't getting us better. So the only thing that is left with you is that you can sell yourself cheap and you can probably go forward in a job. Now it sounds bad, but I mean, in classic, Bollywood style, oh gosh, what do we do? Because we've been spending about 6 years, 4 years doing our graduation, trying to look at ways and means of how we can go ahead and be employable outside. A lot of you will get campus placements at a particular level, but you will notice that the larger companies have stopped coming. You will notice that the smaller companies are now starting to come in, but then there are again promissory numbers. Few people land up getting great options. The other people land up getting very baseline options. It's that same GDP equation. It's the same thing which is at play. It is all about productivity becoming much, much more important. It's about becoming better, which is becoming important. That's one reason why we don't get the best assignments, and it takes some time. Now, what happens is that colleges have a spiraling effect. Students have stopped coming into engineering colleges. 15-20% of the seats kind of go wasted. The fact that that impacts the employment status of teachers. Teachers are no more permanent. Teachers have become temporary. Quality of teachers is falling down. The quantum of salaries being paid to teachers is very low, and you can see the whole pyramid kind of falling down. So, what's the remedy? Well, if you look at it from all the possible angles, you will realize that maybe tier 1 colleges will survive it, but tier 2, tier 3 colleges across the board, be it graduate school, be it postgraduate school, have a tough time. The only equation or the only thing that will probably solve this, as has been seen over many countries like Israel, this phenomenon is not new to India, it's happened in many countries before, is that you will have to go ahead and move away in your education methodologies from doing what is happening here on the screen to probably doing what's happening here on the screen. And this, friends, is probably the introduction to the fact that if we are not going to use up our college and school times to go ahead and innovate, think about being entrepreneurs, plan our entrepreneurship ventures, go ahead and be innovative and create great products and projects while we are in our college, get our startups done, you will run towards a situation where your quality of know-how will be so poor that you will have to run a very, very long race. See, if you ask people who are interviewing you, it's amazing, right? You go into a test for IIM and you answer not a single question around engineering or BSc or BA or BCom. What is the questions that you're answering in an IIM examination? Speed, distance, and time, trigonometry, basic English, verbal reasoning. This in itself should lead the question to you. Don't they know that I have done this in my 12th? Don't they know this is what I have done in my engineering? And what are the questions being asked? Even in your aptitude test that you appear for in your engineering or after your management, none of the questions are around the theory of your subjects. It's everything around this aptitude. Which means the industry is really not looking for anything else. They're looking for aptitude. Frankly, given a choice, if I were to design a curriculum, I'd rather make you do RS Sharma for the next 2 years rather than do a management course, because the examination which a job company is going to take up is going to be all about aptitude questions. You do the same for GMAT, you do the same for GRE, and yet we think we are certain, we are engineers, or we are graduates, or we are management graduates. The sad truth is that all of us are just certified with the subject. We are really not knowing the subject because there's no practical implementation of the subject. So for the folks who are doing your management right now, and folks who may have done your engineering or some other graduate course, guys, if you are not going to go ahead and spend your time in creating your next startup or putting up the seeds for the next innovative product on which you might make your startup, or even create a good quality product or project during your curriculum, you won't be putting your skills to test. There's nothing differentiating between your percentage marks and someone else's percentage marks. I run a couple of other companies and we interview all the time. The only question which is a differentiator for students is what was their project? What was the practical assignment that you landed up with? And it's only there that you really come to know what the students have done. Else everybody has a 7-pointer CGPA and an 8-pointer. And lately, some colleges even have the audacity to give 9.5-pointer CGPA. It just does not make sense for a report because you know the kids know that. Anyways, what's the solution? Like I said, it is about creating an innovative tomorrow while you are in college. You always have 3 years, 4 years, or 2 years, and this is the time when you can actually create something different. If you went ahead and took your product idea, project idea, services idea, or any idea for that matter, which you think has wings, and made an attempt for a startup, or at least created some IP around the same, you might have a much better chance of being able to explain or learn practically from what's happening.